This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
Let's take a look at today's headlines from across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. Just days before the big playoff game, we learned from investigators that a Houston Texans defensive back was carjacked at gunpoint. The Harris County DA's office confirming to KHU11 that last month, Jalen Reed, a rookie, had his vehicle stolen from his home, the suspects threatening him with a rifle. Orko Manna with the details.
According to newly obtained court documents, 3 men with ski masks wearing all black went into the garage of Houston Texans player Jalen Reed on January 4th. Houston police tell me that all 3 suspects were armed with rifles. Those suspects allegedly demanded that Reed give them everything in his home, but then they took his SUV, a $120,000 Jeep Cherokee Trackhawk. Court documents also stating that the victim is a known public figure in the community and the defendants targeted him knowing that. Police records detailing how Reed called 911 and how a short time later officers located Reed's vehicle, but at that point only one of the suspects was inside. That suspect led police on a chase that included police canine units and a DPS chopper overhead in the air. The chase ending near Ella Boulevard and Rush Creek Drive, about an hour away from the carjacking scene. The stolen vehicle can be seen near a tree.
Effectively, this person is believed to have stolen a vehicle at gunpoint or with force, got into the vehicle, and traveled all the way up here.
During the chase, HPD says there was a crash involving their squad cars, resulting in very minor injuries.
The damage did cause one of the vehicles to catch on fire slightly.
Montreal Fry.
20-year-old Montreal Dwayne Fry was caught and taken into custody. Fry appearing in probable cause court on January 5th, where a judge read the charges against him.
You're accused of the 3rd-degree felony offense of evading arrest or detention with a vehicle, and the state jail felony offense of unauthorized use of a vehicle.
Court records also show Fry was already on felony probation for a separate evading arrest case from November 2024. Meanwhile, Jalen Reed has been playing and practicing despite the situation, spotted on the practice field today with his Texans teammates, gearing up for Sunday's showdown against the New England Patriots.
That's Orko Manna reporting. We're hearing from the family of a 21-year-old man who was shot and killed in what the family's calling an ambush. The Harris County Sheriff's Office is looking for at least 4 suspects last seen wearing ski masks. That shooting happening last Saturday on Vistadale Drive in the Humble area. That's in a neighborhood right next to Jesse Jones Park. Jason Miles has more from the scene.
I met the victim's family today at this growing memorial near the spot where 21-year-old Adam Pineda was fatally shot while sitting in his truck last Saturday. Some of his family's favorite photos of Adam Pineda are part of this growing memorial, including one of the food lover enjoying a big steak.
Oh my God.
The 21-year-old Klein Collins grad who worked for an electrical company was a beloved big brother and devoted boyfriend who survived a devastating car crash just 2 years ago.
He was just so giving.
Adam was the oldest of Amber Razzo Pineda's 3 children.
He has a name. It's not a man that was killed. It was a boy that was loved, a family that cared for him, would do anything for him.
This is video from Saturday night when the Harris County Sheriff's Office says Pineda was fatally shot multiple times during a confrontation with at least 4 masked suspects who remain at large. Pineda died in his pickup truck that came to a stop in the middle of a street in a neighborhood where his family once lived. Investigators believe it may have happened during some sort of prearranged meeting, though they suspect robbery as a possible motive.
And we do understand that the people that did this may live, in fact, in this neighborhood.
What would you say to them?
I'm a person that believes that people could change, but there's no forgiving on this part. You have to face and be held responsible and accountable for what you did to Adam.
We do know that a number of neighbors have shared surveillance video that could be helpful in identifying the suspects after an initial drone and canine search turned up nothing.
You need to face the consequences.
Again, investigators believe this happened during some sort of robbery attempt. If you know anything, you're urged to call the Harris County Sheriff's Office or Crime Stoppers. Near Humble, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
We have a warning about a scam that cost a Houston woman her life savings. People posing as the FBI told her she was helping with a federal investigation. Joe Mercedes walks us through what happened and what you need to know to protect yourself.
Yes.
It started with a text message.
Wells Fargo Fraud Department.
It asked Diane Fenley if she attempted a charge at Walmart supermarket. When she replied no, the messages escalated fast.
They were telling me that they were doing an investigation on this branch that there's for the last 3 months, and that I need to get to the bank and take care of my money because there's been fraud already.
Then she got a call from someone claiming to be with the FBI, telling her that her Wells Fargo branch was under investigation. They even sent her a letter on FBI letterhead.
They said they were wanting me to pull out $20,000. I had my life savings in my savings account, which was $20,000.
She says she went to the bank and the scammers kept her on the phone as she withdrew the cash.
They said, now we need you to go to Chase Bank. And don't go into the bank, just go through the drive-thru.
The scammers opened a Chase account, added it to her digital wallet, and gave her a 4-digit code to deposit the money at the ATM.
And then all of a sudden everything was wiped out. The card was gone.
Fenley says that Chase account vanished from her phone.
I was sick, just pure sick, because I realized what just happened to me.
Government impersonation scams are one of the worst offenders.
Aaron West, founder of Operation Shamrock, an organization that fights scams, says these types of scams are extremely effective because they create fear.
There is such an urgency that attaches to these government impersonation scams that people are lured into making quick decisions that result in a lot of money getting stolen from them.
We've all gotten texts like that. How do people know that a fraud alert text is really from their bank or it's a fake?
We can't expect anything coming into our phone that we didn't ask for to direct us to an honest platform.
West suggests not responding to the text and instead reach out to your bank directly about fraudulent activity. And if someone calls claiming to be the FBI,
you should reach out to your local field office and confirm it yourself.
Fenley has filed reports with the Harris County Sheriff's Office, the FTC, and the FBI, and she's hoping her story saves someone else.
I want people to know that there are some scammers out there that are so clever. And they did me in. They did me in.
The FBI has issued multiple warnings about scammers impersonating federal agents, stressing they will never ask for money, gift cards, wire transfers, or ATM deposits. If you believe you are being targeted by a scam like that, hang up and report it.
Cheryl Mercedes reporting there. A bridge that has become notorious for being hit by trucks and tall loads was hit for the first time in the new year. We're talking about the Houston Avenue Bridge. It runs over I-10 near downtown. Several lanes were blocked for more than an hour on Wednesday as crews worked to move that truck. Last year, that bridge was hit, listen to this, at least 73 times. A long-term fix is planned. The I-10 White Oak Bayou project will lower Houston Avenue under the freeway. However, that construction will run through late 2028. A homeless man is accused of setting a fire that grew out of control, then destroying an abandoned church in North Houston. David Gibson appearing before a judge on a charge of reckless arson. According to court records, he told police the fire was an accident as he was trying to keep warm. Gibson said he was homeless and wants to make amends for what happened.
He is willing to help clean up or repair any damage via community service or anything that he can do in that way. He's unhoused, and he did express that he made sure that nobody was still in there and wanted to make sure everyone got out.
Bond is set at $5,000. That's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
In Austin, I'm Mark Mullins. Austin leaders are working to bring in an outside firm to look at how the city spends your money. They spoke publicly about that external audit for the first time since Austin voters rejected Proposition Q in November. So that would have raised the city property tax rate roughly 20% over the prior year. Opponents have called for more financial transparency. Adam Bennett tells us the plan that could pass as soon as February 5th, but another group is still gathering signatures for a different plan.
On Wednesday, outside questioning of how Austin spends on transportation, trails, the unhoused, and other issues faced questions inside City Hall.
It's a full agenda.
Mayor Kirk Watson chairs the Audit and Finance Committee. 5 days earlier, Mayor Watson posted a draft ordinance online for what he calls an independent, systemic, comprehensive efficiency assessment for the city of Austin. It directs the city auditor to hire an external consultant with expertise in municipal audits. They'd review all other city departments at least once every 3 years.
We will still have the audit program that the auditor's office does. But this allows for us to have a citywide, systemic, and systematic, transparent audit process across the board.
City Auditor Jason Hadavi said he'd break up the assessment cycle over several years because of the city's size and complexity.
It gives the manager time to implement those recommendations. Some of them may be heavier recommendations that are going to take longer than just a year.
The plan has critics.
I really appreciate the work going into the ordinance, which is calling for an audit.
But Austinite Jeffrey Bowen prefers the external audit the group Save Austin Now is working to place on the May ballot. Bowen believes that's harder to overturn later.
I still believe that there's many items in both of these that overlap each other. They talk about the same thing. This needs to be part of the charter amendment.
Food for thought as council ponders its next move.
Adam Bennett reporting. Save Austin Now has until the end of the month to get the required signatures for the ballot item. One big unanswered question from council members today: how much would this outside audit cost? The city auditor replied he wouldn't know until they go out for bids. He said other cities have done some organization-wide reviews, but nothing like this. Thousands of Iranians have been killed for protesting their government in recent weeks, and events there are hitting close to home for some Iranians living here in Austin. KVU's Kelsey Sanchez shares their message.
Mojdeh Garbi says her family has long fought for freedom in Iran. Here, she wants to amplify their voices.
It is very personal. We both have a lot of family in Iran. We have not heard from them for many days now.
She and Armin Salek, who are part of the Austin Iranian Professionals Association, say they're open to options that lead to a regime change.
Freedom for Iran!
For weeks, human rights organizations say protests against the Iranian regime have led to executions, and the government has cut off internet and phone access.
One of the major issues that comes with a lack of communication in and out of Iran is that the narrative can be completely transformed by the regime. So they have this idea going around that this is purely a matter of external forces forcing these ideologies on the Iranian people, when in reality this is the Iranian people's fight against religious oppression.
For decades, the U.S. and other countries have imposed sanctions targeting Iran's nuclear capabilities and crippling the country's currency. Under the Trump administration, those sanctions deepened. And that is what a University of North Texas professor says has led to Iranians to flood the streets.
They want the regime to fall. It's not clear exactly what the nature of a negotiation with the United States would be. If the Islamic Republic is trying to negotiate some sanctions relief, renegotiate the Iran nuclear deal, but still maintain its hold on power and still deny basic democratic rights to the Iranian people will not be satisfied with that.
Garbi and Salek say their loved ones in Iran can't wait any longer.
This is our opportunity, and we really have to seize the moment because the Iranian people deserve this.
And the reality is that Iran has been at war with the world as a whole for decades now.
So here in Austin, they hope to keep spreading the message of what's going on in their home country. In Austin, Kelsey Sanchez, KVU News.
Texas is preparing to roll out its new school choice initiative. Next month, families can start applying for the program for the next school year. Families in the program will be able to use taxpayer money to help pay for private school tuition and other educational costs. More than 1,000 schools have been approved, but not every school that wants to apply has been able to. Daniel Perot takes a closer look at what the holdup is for those schools.
Private schools stuck in limbo.
But it is a new freedom of opportunity for parents and families.
It's been a month since the state started accepting applications from private schools. The Texas Private Schools Association says very few schools accredited by Cognia, one of the largest accreditors in the state, have been able to apply. The holdup is tied to this letter from Acting Comptroller Kelly Hancock to Attorney General Ken Paxton's office, asking for a legal opinion on whether it could bar certain schools from the program over alleged ties to the Chinese government or the Council on American Islamic Relations. Both schools mentioned in the letter are Cognia accredited. Republican critics have long warned of the possibility of Islamic schools getting funding, including at a hearing last year.
They can immediately become a voucher vendor school. I'm positive that Republicans do not want to fund that.
To be approved, schools need to be accredited, administer standardized testing, and have had a physical campus for 2 years. KVUE compared that to Cognia's list of accredited schools. At least 15 Islamic-focused schools in Texas meet that criteria. None have so far been approved.
The whole intent of the voucher program was to promote parental rights and parental choice and had nothing to do with religion.
Dennis Eichelbaum, a school law litigator, says denying eligible accredited schools access based on religion or viewpoint could open the state up to legal liability.
I don't understand how anyone could argue that the legislation allows them to pick and choose religions.
In an emailed statement to KVUE, the Comptroller's office says it has implemented additional safeguards to ensure every participating school complies with Texas law and taxpayer dollars don't support institutions tied to a foreign terrorist organization or an adversarial foreign government. As of last week, the Comptroller's office says Cognia accredited schools began registering and additional batches will register in the days ahead.
That was Daniel Perot reporting. Cognia says it has reached out to the Comptroller's office in hopes of finding a way forward. While an attorney general's opinion is not legally binding, the state could use it to justify barring schools from the program. Families can start applying for the program on February 4th. Those are the headlines in Austin. I'm Mark Mullins.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Pat Calvin here with a look at your forecast around the state. We'll start in South Texas first. Gorgeous day shaping up here. Really, the whole state's going to look really nice for today. Not a cloud in the sky. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s. Through Central and East Texas, beautiful weather here, but a little bit cooler. 60s out towards the state capital. 50s, though, for Houston, getting up towards Crockett and Jasper out towards the Louisiana border. More 50s out towards the Metroplex, getting into Texarkana. But the farther west you go, notice some warmer weather. 60s for Waco, Stephenville, Wichita Falls could flirt with 70 degrees. And we see widespread 70s out towards the Panhandle and the High Plains for today. Just stunning weather on the way. Not a cloud in the sky. Bit of a breeze across West Texas for the afternoon. We'll see winds out of the southwest at about 15 to 25 miles per hour, but that'll come with some warm temperatures here as well in the 60s and 70s from El Paso out towards Fort Stockton, San Angelo, and Midland. Over the next few days, starting with today, again, look at that, across the whole state, nothing but sunshine. Getting into the day tomorrow, more of the same, maybe some breezy conditions out towards Lubbock and the High Plains, and then for Saturday, some colder temperatures for Amarillo. In fact, a lot of the state will see some cooler weather with highs in the 40s and 50s under mainly sunny skies. Here's a look at the next few days. Again, for today, high pressure in charge. If you're on the east side of the high, you're getting a cold north wind. If you're on the west side of the high, you're going to get that warming effect. So again, 70s for the western half of the state, 50s in the eastern half. Getting into the day on Friday, that high slides south. So it's warmer weather now for south and central Texas before our next cold front comes in, which will really knock the temperatures down getting into the weekend. No severe weather expected, though, for today, really the next few days, with no rain expected across the area as well. Here's a look at Future Track. It's an easy one getting into the afternoon. Again, tons of sunshine across the state. More of the same for Friday. Here comes that front, but notice no rain associated with it. As that blows through the area, we could see a couple of extra clouds. Maybe a stray shower Saturday up towards the Lubbock and Shamrock area, up towards Wichita Falls. But that's going to be about it for rainfall across the state over the next few days. And really over the next 7 days, barely anything expected with dry weather across the state. Temperature-wise, over the next 6 to 10 days, warmer weather builds from the west across the state of Texas, and then cooler weather will kind of build across the northeast. More of the same with cooler weather up towards the upper Great Lakes in the northeast, with warmer conditions expected across the southern half of the U.S., extending through much of Texas all the way out towards the East Coast. That's a look at your Texas weather. More Texas headlines coming your way in just a few minutes.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Chris Lawrence with your top stories from North Texas. Arlington ISD is considering a plan to close Blanton Elementary School, but another building that's already been abandoned caught fire Tuesday night. Firefighters told Luke Clary why these leftover buildings can pose a real safety risk.
The fire broke out 4 minutes after midnight, prompting a 3-alarm response at the old Carter Junior High in Arlington. Firefighters said it took about an hour and a half to get it under control.
The fact that it's under the demolition phase, we're worried about the structural integrity of the building, whether interior doors and walls are missing.
Nobody was hurt, but Juan Mata with the Arlington Fire Department says large vacant buildings like this one are dangerous because firefighters don't know what they're walking into.
Given the fact that it's vacant and it's been vandalized from the exterior, it's pretty obvious. We don't know what to expect on the inside. Is someone intentionally vandalizing to make it harmful for us?
Carter Junior High opened back in 1958. The district says the building was old, worn down, and too expensive to maintain. Students moved out last summer, and the school has been empty ever since, waiting for demolition. Arlington ISD says that demolition is on track, that they moved out completely by the end of August, early September. Then crews had to complete asbestos mitigation. They expect the building to be demolished completely by March. The fire comes as Arlington ISD considers closing another campus, Blanton Elementary, citing declining enrollment and the condition of the building. Another large facility and another safety concern for firefighters.
They do pose a significant risk when it comes to firefighter lives and safety, and that's for the Arlington Fire Department. That's why we do things a certain way.
The cause of this fire is under investigation. In Arlington, I'm Luke Clary.
A man is facing new charges in the death of Seth Raines, a former Texas Tech student killed in a hit and run. Matt Howerton has new details from the crime scene and how the family is a step closer to getting justice.
I'm writing because I think this is very sad and unbelievable to me.
That disbelief put in writing Monday.
Seeing this process, we wouldn't wish it on our worst enemy.
The family of Seth Raines going straight to the top, emailing Dallas's mayor and police chief asking why the man charged in their son's death had not been picked up on new felony charges they say were filed weeks ago.
He filed for 3 new warrants.
31-year-old Jose Hernandez de Leon was already facing a charge of collision involving death after police say he struck and killed Raines while he was crossing the street after a concert in Dallas's Design District last July. Police say de Leon left the scene, and since then, the case has grown.
They were going to turn themselves in. That was November the 19th.
Cindy Raines says police later told her new charges had been added, including manslaughter and tampering with evidence. The paperwork shows investigators used vehicle data, surveillance video, and crash reconstruction to conclude De Leon was driving at a high rate of speed, more than double the speed limit of 35 when Raines was hit in a marked crosswalk. A manslaughter charge carries more weight.
The driver did not turn himself in.
And to the Raines family, more urgency.
He said that the fugitive team is looking for him.
They say they've known about those upgraded charges for roughly 7 weeks. Still, De Leon hadn't turned himself in.
We interviewed the Raines family on Monday night and asked De Leon's attorney why his client hadn't surrendered just yet. By Tuesday morning, De Leon had turned himself in.
Be accountable, which he hasn't been since this has happened.
For the Raines, the clock matters because closure surrounding the death of their 23-year-old son doesn't begin until the case does. In Dallas, I'm Matt Howerton.
Cities are trying to get a head count of how many unhoused people are in Tarrant County. While it impacts their funding, Brittany Costello explains why the numbers fail to tell the whole story.
This is what might come to mind when you think of the word homeless. People on a corner or living in tents who are used to give the federal government a point-in-time snapshot of the unhoused population in Tarrant County.
The point-in-time count really shows us the tip of the iceberg.
Center for Transforming Lives CEO Carol Klosik says there's a lot it doesn't count, like people staying in motels or crammed in homes. It often misses families living in their cars, people like Tanisha Thomas.
And I was staying in the Walmart parking lots and church parking lots.
Then she went from couch to couch when she had her baby boy until she reached a breaking point.
I told her my situation and that I was suicidal, which I was.
Not able to work because she had no child care, not able to save because she couldn't work.
First step for me was to ask for help.
The Center for Transforming Lives took her in and for the first time in 3 years, helped her move into her own place.
I feel it now. It was weights lifted off my shoulders.
Her car serves a different purpose. It takes her to and from TCC, where she's made the dean's list and is set to graduate in May.
Our life is purposeful, and there's a reason for everything we go through so that we can go back and tell others how to get through it.
A life, she says, not possible without resources, many of which are determined by the government's point in time.
We need to solve the affordable housing crisis in order to really be able to address this, but we won't unless we know what the need is.
So people like Thomas can help their community thrive.
Those are investments that pay dividends for our community.
In Fort Worth, I'm Brittany Costello.
A lot of homes for sale in North Texas are sitting on the market despite the booming growth in this region. Kevin Reese spoke with experts to get a gauge on where things stand.
If you tried to sell a home in Collin County in the past year, odds are it took longer than normal, and you likely didn't get the price you wanted. The Metro-Tex Association of Realtors tracked a 14.4% decrease in the median price year over year and a 20.4% increase in active listings. Homes sitting on the market for an average of 105 days.
I think what we're seeing here in the Metroplex is something of a microcosm of the U.S. largely.
The National Association of Realtors today said the U.S. housing market slump dragged into its fourth year with sales stuck at a 30-year low. Mortgage rates still too high for some. Metro-Tex data for the entire DFW Metroplex shows prices dropping 6.3% and a 9% increase in the number of homes for sale.
Obviously, we're seeing a lot more listings now than we saw in the past, but we're just now getting back to pre-COVID levels. COVID real estate era really distorted what we considered a normal real estate market.
This is just a different market than I've experienced over the last 20 years.
Realtor Matt Hilton believes that as interest rates dip below 6%, the market may slowly begin to change.
We were in the seller's market for 10 years or more. Now it's coming back to a balanced market. And so as that pendulum swings, that may be the period that we're in.
The chief economist for the National Association of Realtors agrees, saying that there are signs of improvement. So Justin Landon remains hopeful too.
We're still not back to what you would traditionally call a buyer's market, but we're a heck of a lot closer to that than we've been in a really, really long time.
Until then, the wait for that market pendulum continues. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
Yeah, in addition to the cost, there's sort of a psychological effect when the interest rate starts with a 5 instead of a 6. And those are your headlines on North Texas.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. Major road work could be coming to I-35 and I-14 between Temple and Belton, and TxDOT is asking for public input. Supporters say the expansion would improve traffic and safety, while others fear it could hurt the Central Texas economy. 6 News anchor Adriana Alexander was at the TxDOT meeting and has the latest.
Right here, that's the local traffic.
TxDOT is hosting its second round of community input meetings in Temple, focused on the proposed I-35 expansion designed to accommodate the I-14 project. The major part of this plan will include widening I-35 from south of Loop 121 to Loop 363 about 200 feet.
And with this project, you're widening I-35 from currently 6 main lanes, and you're going to widen it to 14 main lanes. And then, so with that, you have less congestion. And not only are you addressing the capacity issue for today's traffic volume, but for decades to come.
This expansion will stretch 8 miles long and is projected to begin in 2030, but there's already concern for local business owners, drivers, and homeowners in Temple, but especially in Belton. Belton City Councilman Luke Potts is speaking for dozens of Belton residents who disagree with how the plan is mapped out.
For the way the current map is drawn, you would have to exit for Belton before you even saw Belton, before you were in Belton. And that's just not reasonable for our businesses and all our economy that's based around I-35.
Potts and other city officials have proposed alternative projects to TxDOT, but no major change came of it. Residents hope their comments and suggestions in these meetings will make a difference in the long run.
We want to focus on our safety, on our EMS responses, on our access to downtown.
The best case scenario is for TxDOT to hear Belton and not only hear us, but listen. We want the expansion, but not at the destruction of Belton itself.
In more news, a Fort Hood soldier was found not guilty of the 2023 murder of a sergeant. According to 1st Cavalry Division, Specialist Nicholas B. Lowry was acquitted on murder charges. He was accused of shooting Sergeant Alfredo Martinez and lying to police, alleging Martinez shot himself. A panel of military officers determined Lowry was not guilty. Now, another soldier has been charged, Specialist Renee Herber. His trial is set to start April 13th. He is facing several charges, including assault and accessory after the fact. Killeen ISD students were able to virtually step into the world of the Navy through a virtual reality system. Students cycled through a series of simulations that mimicked Navy skills, and Chief Navy Career Counselor Elton Jefferson says despite being away from the ocean, this event is successful in recruiting. It encourages students to enlist in the Navy, especially in Killeen.
Everybody's like, hey, I'm trying to join the military, so I'm going Army. But this right here actually helps us a lot. Like I said, it gives the public a chance to come out, see all the depth of the different Navy careers, ranging from nuclear engineering, medical field, law enforcement, if you want to be a pilot, or if you want to go into like our special forces. So it gives a chance to see what it's actually like.
A student at the event says she was already planning on enlisting, but the simulators helped solidify her decision. Another student who wasn't initially interested in the military says it helped them gain a new perspective because of the event. Now, a small Central Texas school district is making the difficult decision to close the rest of the week. Bartlett ISD is saying it's because of increased cases of the flu and other sicknesses. The district closed all of its campuses, saying it will give them a chance to deep clean schools and allow time for anyone who is sick to recover. Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Hi, I'm Dan Millay, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. Lake Tyler residents are raising concerns about a proposed master plan that could shape the future of the lake. A lot of them filled the Tyler City Council meeting earlier this morning, saying they want a greater role in decisions that directly impact their community. CBS 19's Ayanna Aird has more.
This is our backyard. This is our home. This is where we live.
Brian Fiden has lived at his lakefront house off Lake Tyler for over 5 years. He's one of dozens who showed up at Wednesday's council meeting worried about the future of the area.
I understand the concerns of the people that live there, that tourists come, they utilize the lake, but they don't have as much care for potentially what the water quality implications are. And so we will be examining that fairly closely.
The The city is in the process of updating the original 2011 Lake Tyler master plan.
But this piece kind of looks more at how do we diversify revenue streams so that we have an ability to pay for the work and the beautification and the dam.
City leaders say the goal of the update is to protect water quality for Tyler's drinking water, improve lake management to prevent contamination, expand recreational opportunities, and enhance safety around the lake.
So our concern is that we have not been involved in the planning process about the priorities of the master plan.
I love what's on the plan. I think that there are a lot of really good things that that could come to be.
Some residents say they support many of the ideas in the plan, but believe more discussion and inclusion is necessary. Kate Dietz says this plan won't happen overnight.
This is a very high-level master planning document that gives us overall ideas, but when it comes down to actually implementing them, there's still more examination that needs to occur. We have just different groups that or stakeholders that we want to make sure we get all of their opinions.
Residents like Gail say the most important step moving forward is for the city to follow through with the Lake Advisory Group organized by the neighborhood so they can feel confident their voices are being heard.
We are planning on setting up just figuring out how is the best way to solicit the people that make the most sense for that advisory committee.
Shaping our community is important to us, and we want to make sure that we have an adequate voice in that.
For CBS 19, I'm Ayana Aird.
There are plenty of opportunities around East Texas to play sports like football, soccer, baseball, but there's only one place to play lacrosse. Cumberland Academy kicked off practice #1 on the season. The program combined with Tyler Lacrosse and is the only place in East Texas that plays high school lax. They pull from schools all over the region as they are always looking for those interested in playing and interested in teams to play. Nearly all of their opponents are in Dallas or Louisiana, so somebody's driving 2 hours nearly every game. Coach Welch says they're welcoming anyone who's interested to try and come out the sport.
At times, yes. We a lot of people think that you got to play lacrosse in order to come. One of the best things about this sport is that you can just be, if you're an athlete, you can come out. We have a lot of wrestlers that come and join our team. We have a lot of football players that come and join our team. Baseball, soccer, and we can teach. We could teach them how to use the stick. We could teach them how to read the plays, what to do.
That's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Dan Millay.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. Police say a man was shot after opening his front door for 2 women. It happened early Wednesday morning at an apartment complex. Earl Stoudemire explains.
San Antonio police say a 46-year-old man was shot in the leg at this apartment at the Salado Creek Villas. This is on the 410 frontage road near Starcrest, and neighbors we spoke with off camera are on edge hearing the commotion.
All we heard was just one gunshot, like a big gunshot, and I just heard, and they took off.
Police got calls for a shooting at 5:42 a.m. at the Salado Creek Villas. When officers arrived, they found a man shot in the leg. Police learned from the man that he opened the door to 2 unknown women knocking. When the man opened his door, police say the women shot him and ran away. Police say the man went to his neighbor to call 911. The man was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. If you know anything about this shooting, please call SAPD. On the northeast side, Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
Despite tearful pleas from family, a 14-year-old accused of mishandling a gun and killing his 8-year-old brother will remain locked up for now. Sue Kalberg was in court for the hearing.
It's the heartbreaking day back in July when an 8-year-old was killed by an accidental gun discharge. Family members have been begging for a chance
to bring that 14-year-old child home and let them heal together. Well, that's not happening today.
There's consequences to this, but also I got to protect you from you.
Judge Cruz Shaw told the teen he had no choice but to enforce a zero-tolerance policy the teen violated on a manslaughter charge.
There's no excuse for being stupid. Jesus, you were stupid.
There was no fighting, there was no arguing.
Shaw told the teen his trust is broken.
It's you who I don't trust. There was no reason why that gun should have been out in the first place. And there's no reason why you should be sneaking out of grandma's house in the streets when you have a pending serious charge.
The deadly ordeal started July 25th when police say unsupervised kids were playing with a gun they found in their home on Bob Villa. Police say this teen mishandled the gun and it went off, killing his 8-year-old brother. Released once before on a GPS monitor, court officials say the teen was arrested again when he was caught on the streets after curfew with kids he was supposed to be avoiding.
If I tell you and you think I'm playing, I'm not. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this time I'm going to order him remain detained.
The judge did make one small concession. He relaxed the rules just a little bit so that an additional family member can visit with the teen while he remains locked up. Here at the Juvenile Justice Center, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
San Antonio police are asking for the public's help after a shelter dog was stolen from Animal Care Services. Investigators say an unidentified man entered the ACS campus on December 26 and removed a dog named Rambo from his kennel before taking off. SAPD and Animal Care Services are now working together to identify the suspect. If you recognize the man, you're asked to call police at 210-207-7273. Downtown San Antonio may be in for a major transformation. The city wants to buy a former federal office building using Spurs money to build a sports and entertainment district. Simone Simpson explains the city's next steps.
In a vote Thursday, the city is asking for approval to make an offer on federal property near Cesar Chavez. That includes the Cesar Chavez office building and nearby lots, about 5.7 acres total. The plan is for the city to buy the land, then lease it back to the Spurs for a mixed-use development that would help support financing for a new arena. The purchase offer is $30 million, with up to $120,000 in closing costs.
We all recognize this is a generational investment, but also a wonderful opportunity, not only for the 4 districts that Eric described, but for the entire city, right? Downtown can be much more of a strategic economic engine than it currently is, and now is our opportunity to shape that.
But parking is also in the spotlight, raising concerns of what's ahead for downtown.
There are things that we can do now that we don't have to wait for an arena to get built. And I think the first thing we have to start with is parking. The amount of times I hear downtown, oh, there's no place to park, but we have so many surface parking lots, it's insane.
Leaders want to conduct a study on traffic, parking, security, fire and EMS, and district maintenance to see what life would look like downtown with the convention center, Spurs Arena, and the rest of the Spurs and Entertainment District actively happening all at the same time.
I really think we need to have some structures in place, or at least working to create those structures to then deliver on these goals. So I think when we talk about housing, I think Housing Trust is the key player in all of this.
Cell phones, chairs, dolls, those are just a few of the items found every few years when the San Antonio River is drained and cleaned. Jeremy Baker takes a look at what else is in the river.
Wedding rings, e-scooters, and even shopping carts. Anything new, old, used, or even brand new in a box has been found in this river that is drained and cleaned every 2 years.
Anything that you would see in the downtown area being used, probably at some point or another, is found. It's kind of just rushed into the river.
Adrian Arroyos is an aquatic biologist with the San Antonio River Authority. He says making sure every inch of infrastructure is performing properly is a big reason too.
To help draw the river down in order to do maintenance. Any repairs or maintenance for the gates, any of the flood control infrastructure that we have in place to kind of help protect the citizens of San Antonio.
Here's one collection of crud Public Works pulled from the Alamo City's most well-known waterway. A mound of metal, if you will, containing a pole for a street sign. what I think is part of a chair, with a few public works employees standing by, ready to dispose of the mud-covered and sludge-soaked stuff, including invasive species like these giant apple snails that get in the way of
tilapia, the plecostomus, or the armored catfish that we see around there. They look like giant algae eaters.
If you're thinking the fish that frolic here must be freaking out without their typical helping of H2O, you can stop stressing. The scaly swimmers are actually relocated.
We care about the native aquatic life within the river, and we don't want them to struggle for the long week that it's drained.
The final product, a river we humans can all relish without all of the metal even a mackerel would say is, well, meh.
If you do litter, please stop.
The San Antonio River Authority also says to toss your trash in a timely manner to make sure this river is as rubbish-free as possible. From the San Antonio River downtown, Jeremy Baker, KENS 5.
San Antonio's four-legged foodies now have a new food option. The Gunter Hotel has launched a chef-curated dog menu at its signature restaurant just steps from the Riverwalk. Called Benson and Friends Favorites, the menu features dog-safe dishes made with recognizable ingredients. Menu items include short rib and eggs and salmon with rice and green beans. Hotel leaders say it's all about truly welcoming pets, not just accommodating them, from breakfast through dessert. And that's the news in San Antonio.
Hi, I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening in South Texas. The Nueces County Junior Livestock Show is kicking off its 90th year, continuing a coastal bend tradition. From the show ring to the kitchen, this event creates pathways into agriculture for the next generation. Natalia Osuna takes us there.
The Nueces County Junior Livestock Show is back for its 90th year, and this time with a behind-the-scenes look into what it takes to put together year after year. Serena Nelson sharing photos of the show dating back to 1938.
It evolved from starting off with cattle, then it went on to swine, then I believe it went on to like sheep, then goats.
Nelson is a young herdsman and Miss Top interview who spent hours diving into the show's history, drawing inspiration from the Rio Grande Valley Junior Livestock Show.
Every year I always go to that show and I always see the museum. It's always filled with the past queen's dresses, a little bull ride, and then there's games for like the younger members, and then there's like pictures and all like the actual like history that goes into the making.
She also showcased a list of all the queens representing the county.
From 1964, Frances Whitley, representing Robstown 4-H.
Avery Tomanek.
I have a bunch of tools that are used for each of these animals.
Is another young herdsman. Her exhibit focuses on explaining the animal care involved in each category.
This is a goat halter. So whenever you're showing goats, you'll see people and they're kind of holding the goats like this with their legs like that. And these lamb halters aren't as short as the goat halters because the goat halters are supposed to be kind of hidden.
Tomanek says she's following in her father's footsteps while showing lambs.
It's really nice to know that there is a history behind us and we're not the first people doing it.
Nelson saying they hope to show younger generations all that Nueces County has to offer.
We are a tough county to beat, and everyone always goes, whenever you walk into Robstown, it is like, oh, that is Nueces County.
That was our Natalia Osuna reporting. We love NCJLS, and of course, with hundreds of animals expected to pass through the show ring right now, reports of screwworm detected in Texas are raising concern for livestock owners across the state. The parasite, which can cause serious infections in animals, has prompted questions about what it could mean for events like the Nueces County Junior Livestock Show.
I don't think it'll affect the livestock show industry so much, just because these type of animals are looked at quite well. At least twice a day they're looked at. Out in the pasture, that'd be a little bit different story. I'm thinking inevitably they'll be here, but at this point in time, we just have to roll with the punches.
Faria says when it comes to protecting livestock, the key is to stay vigilant. And if you notice any signs of infection, to contact your local veterinarian. And finally here, we are remembering a woman whose bravery and defiance helped shape history, Claudette Colvin, who has passed away. Colvin was a key figure in the Montgomery bus boycott. It was in February of last year. She and her son, Dr. Randy Colvin, sat down with our team to share her story, one often overlooked by the more widely known story of Rosa Parks. 9 months before Rosa Parks was arrested, Claudette Colvin was arrested for the same thing, in handcuffs at just 15 years old, taking a brave stand against racist laws. Colvin lived here in the Coastal Bend and continued to share her story in hopes of inspiring the next journey. And safe to say, she certainly did that. Claudette Colvin was 86 years old. And that's a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Cameron Burchett. In Jasper County, a Buena man is taking matters into his own hands to help fight crime. It comes after a string of burglaries and thefts, which have left elderly and single women afraid to leave their homes. Frederick Aaron says he has no background in law enforcement. He simply wants to protect those in his community. 12 News reporter Ebony Coleman has the story.
I'm at the Jasper County Sheriff's Office substation in Buena. Residents tell me they're having trouble sleeping. They say they are spooked after a series of home burglaries.
We just tired of our elderly citizens and our senior citizens being terrorized in this community. Enough's enough.
Buena resident Frederick Aaron says he is sick of crime in his community after recent burglaries and thefts.
They kicking the door in. We had one guy, he pulled a hammer on somebody, knocked the lady down.
Jasper County Sheriff Chuck Havard agrees there is a problem.
So we've had some problems with theft and obviously methamphetamine. We've had a few burglars.
A problem Aaron has taken into his own hands.
Well, I just started doing my own type of surveillance, and they're doing their activity, and I immediately called the authorities.
Sheriff Havard says with no police department in Buena, he's grateful for residents like Aaron.
Our coverage has increased, our visibility has increased. There's nobody who wants to keep the community safer than me, and so I appreciate his engagement, his involvement. And I really enjoy working with him.
Meanwhile, Aaron is hoping more men in the community will step up and join him in the fight against crime.
I want them to know I'm watching them. They got all the elderly community afraid to say or anything. Afraid I don't want nobody to do nothing to me. Or I don't want them to hurt it. No, I can take that heat.
Chef Havard has also suggested residents put up game cameras around their properties. And if he can't afford it, well, he's offered to give away some he has lying around. In Buena, Ebony Coleman, 12 News.
Also in Jasper County, 2 burglary cases that went cold are now moving forward after a DNA match. The sheriff's office says they happened near Buena in February of 2024. Investigators collected evidence, but the cases stalled. Then last year, one of them took another look and noticed similarities between the cases. DNA testing later confirmed both involved Malcolm Fusilier Jr., and he's already behind bars for other burglaries. He'll face new charges when he finishes his current sentence. A 20-year-old murder suspect is still on the run more than 3 weeks after a deadly shooting in Beaumont. One man was killed and another was hurt. Beaumont police are now asking for the community's help to find Dakota Chapman. They believe he shot and killed 31-year-old Shane Thibodeau Jr. at the End Zone Sports Lounge back on December 21st. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato spoke to neighbors who are still shaken up and say the sports lounge has created problems in their neighborhood.
We have a family here and it's very dangerous.
For neighbors who live near End Zone Sports Lounge, the sound of gunshots is becoming all too familiar.
And more than the time that I heard like gunshot and guns, and I come outside, check it out. When the police come in, everybody's going.
Gustavo Vega and his son Israel say the violence is too close to home. Israel says it has changed how he lives day to day.
Even if it's just like getting the mail or something simple, I usually feel pretty scared.
Police say a warrant has been issued for 20-year-old Dakota Chapman, who they believe is responsible for the shooting that killed 31-year-old Shane Thibodeau Jr. Investigators say they need help.
We need the community to come out and help because it's like he disappeared.
It happened back on December 21st when officers responded to shots fired at the lounge.
During the investigation, they learned that 2 victims were already at a local hospital. One of the victims ended up succumbing to his wounds. And officers and detectives, they later found out that Dakota Chapman was a suspect in it, and he currently has a murder warrant.
police believe Chapman has some help.
He can't do it on his own, so that means somebody's most likely out there helping him.
Residents say they just want something done.
We really know that he's just like running, hiding, or he's just like being protected because he knows what he's doing is dangerous.
Beaumont police are asking anyone with information to contact them or Crime Stoppers. And those were your headlines from Southeast Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.